TV Food Network, your home for the
8 ounces of sugar. Now, one tip I would give you is this: make sure to spend a minute or two creaming your butter first before you add in the sugar, because it seems to take much longer if you shoot the two in together and then start to cream it. Of course, this can be done in a food mixer if you want to. I'm just doing it by hand because it's easier to see it that way. So now I'm putting in 8 ounces of brown sugar here. And you'll notice that I'm using a fairly small bowl for this with a round bottom, and that's actually on purpose because it's much easier to cream if you have a smallish bowl. If you have a very big bowl, you'll find that a lot of your mixture is around the side of the bowl half the time, and it's not actually being creamed. This process takes actually a good few minutes. It could actually take anything from 8 to 10 minutes just to get it lovely and soft and creamy, and it's actually worth getting it to the right stage, because honestly, if you don't, when you add the eggs, particularly if you add the eggs a bit fast, your mixture will curdle, and that would actually spoil the texture of your cake later on. So keep on going until your butter and sugar actually changes colour from being quite dark brown to a pale colour and is lovely and soft and light and fluffy. So add a little bit of the egg yolk in and then stir until you get it back to exactly the same texture again, and so on, drop by drop. And there we go, the last bit of egg in at long last. So now at this point I'm going to add in my 10 ounces of flour and a good spoonful of mixed spice. So I'll put that. The flour has already been sieved, and you could put the two together if you want to. I'll add in a little bit. Now, this is quite important. Up to now I've been beating like mad, but at this point, when you add the flour, you just stir. Stir in the flour gently. The same applies if you're making it in your food mixer. Turn down the food mixer to the absolutely slowest speed and just let the flour be stirred in very gently, because if you beat it in like mad, you'll find actually it will toughen your cake. Just stir it nice and gently until all the flour is well incorporated. Now at this point, you add in your macerated fruit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add my grated apple. I have my apple here, and I'm going to take the core out of it. I find this also helps to make the cake nice and moist. So take the core out, and I'll use my grater again. This time I'm using the coarsest part of the grater, and you can grate straight in. Now, I don't add the apple until this point because it would obviously go quite dark brown, particularly if it was left overnight. I actually put the skin and all in, but you can take the skin out if you want to. Watch your fingers, particularly when you're coming close to the end there. That's right, got it all out. Now, I'm actually going to add the cake mixture into the fruit here, because this is a bigger bowl and it'll be easier to mix it in. So, get it all in. And it's a good thing to use a spatula to get every last bit out. That's unless you have a couple of children watching around the table waiting for the bowl or for the wooden spoon, just so that they can get a little lick. We used to absolutely love this uncooked cake mixture as children. It was all part of the excitement of Christmas, waiting to get the remains off the bowl. So that's that. I'll keep my spatula because I'll need it again in a second. And now stir carefully. Because there's no raising agent in that, you could actually put it aside if you wanted to and cook it the next day even. It wouldn't come to any harm. I'm going to put it out of the way for a second because I want to line my cake tin before I go any further. So now, for this amount of cake mixture, you need a 9-inch round tin. It's very important to choose the right size tin, otherwise it completely knocks out your cooking times. You want a 9-inch round tin or 8-inch square tin for this amount of mixture. the cake from the direct heat in the oven. And let me give you one bit of a little tip. If you're ever at an auction and you see in the kitchen they might be selling some household effects, a sort of miscellaneous box with old rolling pins and molds and various things in it. If you see some old black cake tins for sale, be sure to buy them. Don't be put off by the colour. Buy them because they'll be much heavier than the tins you can buy nowadays. And they'll be marvellous because the cake will be well protected from the direct heat of the oven. So that's my tin already lined there. And now I'm just going to spoon in the mixture like that. There we are. Now, again, all the last of that precious bit of cake mixture in. So now, at this point, what I would do is smooth it down on top, and actually it's a very good idea to make a sort of well in the center, because if you actually have it completely flat on top, in the oven, funny thing is it actually rises more in the center, and then that is very awkward when you're icing your cake later on if there's a hump in the center. So a dip of about, say, an inch in the center, an inch and a half. And the other thing I do is I usually dip my hand into some cold water and then pat the top of the cake with my wet hand. And that actually means that the fruit will actually be hidden underneath the cake mixture and won't be sticking up. And if it's sticking up too much, you see, it might actually burn. And bake that now in a fully preheated oven. And some people might like to put a little square of cardboard over the top of the cake at this point, but I don't actually do it because it's not necessary in this oven. Now, I've got the temperature in this oven is moderate at the moment. That's 180 centigrade, 350 Fahrenheit, or 4 in the gas. And I leave it at that temperature for an hour, and then I'll turn it down to 160 centigrade for a further 2 to 2.5 hours, depending on your oven. So, and the other thing is, don't open your oven for at least 2.5 to 2 3/4 hours. Otherwise, if you let it draft into the oven, the fruit will sink down to the bottom, because if the cake mixture isn't cooked enough, it won't be firm enough to keep up your fruit, and you'll have a sad cake with all the fruit at the bottom and the cake mixture on top.